Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take complex topics and try to make them not just understandable, but genuinely exciting. Today, we're embarking on a pretty fascinating journey into the evolution of a framework many of you know well, Scrum. And we're asking a core question, really. How does Scrum keep adapting, keep thriving in a world that demands, well, true product value, not just shipping features? Our mission for this deep dive is to unpack the significant enhancements introduced in the new Scrum Guide Expansion Pack, and critically, how they differ from the foundational 2020 Scrum Guide. For all you project managers and Scrum Masters listening, this isn't just some minor update. It feels like a profound recalibration of how we approach complex work. Pushing beyond just getting the project done.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it. Well, the 2020 Scrum Guide, it established the definitive rules of the game, that lightweight minimalist framework we know of the world, and let's face it, the challenges within it, they just keep evolving, super fast pace. What's really compelling about this expansion pack, I think, is how it offers additional, maybe much needed guidance for right now, for our current times. And it explicitly looks through a future-focused lens. It really acknowledges that Scrum's adoption has spread way beyond its software development roots, hasn't it? It's everywhere now.
Totally. Okay, so to really appreciate what's new, let's quickly set our baseline. Just a refresher. The 2020 Scrum Guide defines Scrum as that lightweight framework that helps people, teams, and organizations generate value through adaptive solutions for complex problems. At its heart, it's founded on empiricism, learning by doing, adapting based on what you see, and lean thinking. Focus on value, cut the waste. It gives us that clear structure. The core, Scrum team developers, product owner, Scrum master. Simple enough. And of course, the 5 events, the sprint planning, daily Scrum, sprint review, sprint retrospective. We know these. Plus the 3 artifacts, product backlog, sprint backlog, increment. Each tied to a clear commitment like the product goal or the definition of done.
Precisely. And the 2020 guide, it was intentionally incomplete, wasn't it? It defined only the absolute essentials. It even stated that tactics for using within the Scrum framework vary widely and are described elsewhere, which raised a really important question, almost philosophical. How do you provide more practical guidance without making Scrum too rigid, too prescriptive? That, in essence, is the gap the expansion pack seems to be stepping into. It's about enhancing, not rewriting.
Right. So the expansion pack isn't replacing the original guide, but genuinely enriching it, adding layers. It's designed to offer additional context, more guidance, building right on top of that 2020 guide.
Yeah, its core purpose is to explain the what and why of each Scrum element, but crucially, from a more forward-thinking perspective, it kind of assumes you already have a pretty solid grasp of Scrum basics. And it aims to help you achieve even more successful adoption, particularly as Scrum gets applied to all aspects of product delivery. So everything from initial discovery, development, right through to actual delivery and making sure value is realized, the whole life cycle. You'll even notice a subtle, but I think important shift in language. Sometimes must becomes should.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, indicating a more adaptive, context-aware approach.
Yeah.
It feels less about strict rule following and more about, thoughtful application.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. The expansion pack isn't just adding new rules or clarifying old ones. It's integrating these deeper theoretical concepts that fundamentally shift how we think about Scrum itself. It feels like, a maturity leap.
It absolutely is. Yeah, maturity leap is a good term. Let's look at some of these core conceptual shifts. First, complexity. The pack explicitly states that for complex work, which is most product development, right, traditional expertise alone is, quote, valuable but insufficient. It acknowledges that cause and effect are only coherent in retrospect. You just can't predict everything up front. So Scrum is now explicitly framed as the approach for dealing with this inherent unpredictability. It helps you navigate, even leverage that uncertainty.
Okay, so embracing the chaos, almost.
In a structured way, yes. Then there's emergence. This is a big one. It introduces emergence as meaningful patterns or behaviors arising from interactions within complex systems. Think of it like this. You can't predict these patterns just by looking at the parts alone. It just happens from the interaction. So Scrum's time boxes, its roles, those feedback loops, they're now seen as enabling constraints.
Enabling constraints. I like that.
Yeah, they provide just enough structure to foster self-management and adaptability. They let solutions emerge rather than being fully designed from the start. It actively encourages safe-to-fail experiments to discover what actually works. Try things out.
Makes sense. What else?
Product thinking. This is a major conceptual pivot, I think. The pack emphasizes this powerful idea. People consume products, not projects.
Right. That's a line that really sticks.
It does. And it's not just semantics. It means shifting from delivering a one-off set of features to focusing on continuous value delivery, long-term market fit. A product is seen as long-term, needing care from cradle to grave. It embraces that natural tension between, say, short-term growth and long-term concerns. It even touches on things like crossing the chasm for wider adoption. Basically, teams are now inherently tied to business results, not just ticking off project tasks on a list.
That's a big responsibility shift for the team, potentially.
Definitely. Then systems thinking. This highlights the interconnectedness of elements within an organization. It urges us to avoid local sub-optimizations. Those quick fixes that look good in one department but might actually increase long-term costs or hurt quality across the whole system. Seeing the bigger picture.
Avoiding unintended consequences.
Precisely. Next, discovery. This isn't just an activity you do at the start anymore. It's now a core theoretical component of the entire product lifecycle. It explicitly starts with understanding people's expectations, needs, and wants through, observation, analysis, conversations, and synthesis. Critically, discovery is never over. It's ongoing.
Never over. Wow.
Yeah, and its work needs to be made transparent in the product backlog and sprint backlog. So for you listening, this means discovery isn't just a phase before the project. It's this continuous, transparent conversation shaping your backlog. Helps you avoid building something nobody actually needs or wants.
That feels crucial. Prevents waste.
Absolutely. And finally, leadership and change. The pact broadens the definition of leadership, emphasizing that leadership happens from all angles, should be at all levels, not just top-down. It points to various modern leadership ideas. Beyond budgeting, humanocracy, others mentioned in the appendices, not to say do this, but to illustrate that fostering an adaptive enterprise needs a specific kind of leadership. One that inspires, enables self-management, removes those demotivating factors so Scrum can actually work effectively, creating the right environment.
Okay, so laying down these deeper foundations, it makes sense that the roles within Scrum are also evolving, right? The core Scrum team is still there, but with significant clarifications and introducing entirely new roles outside that core. What stands out to you there?
Well, the refinements to existing roles are quite telling. Product developers, for instance, previously just developers, now explicitly defined as human or automated.
Acknowledging the AI elephant in the room.
Exactly. Their accountabilities are expanded to include learning, often through data that is guided by the definition of outcome done, and we definitely need to talk about that new definition shortly, and a focus on net improvement. But while AI can be a product developer, the pact stresses, quote, at least one product developer should be human.
Okay, some human oversight is still required. Phew.
Seems so. Then the product owner role. It's also deepened considerably. It's now explicitly stated they must be human and a leader for the product. Their accountabilities are significantly expanded, maximizing long-term value, ensuring deep stakeholder engagement, continuously sensing, listening, learning, and adapting, and expertly balancing trade-offs. It's made abundantly clear that a product owner needs strong product management skills and domain skills. It's a big job.
That sounds incredibly demanding, almost superhuman reading that list. Is there a risk here of just overburdening the PO? Does the pack offer any guidance on how one person can realistically handle all that?
That's a really fair question. And yeah, the PPAW certainly emphasizes the breadth of that responsibility. It strongly implies, I think, that the product owner needs significant support and, crucially, the ability to delegate product backlog management effectively. There's still a single person accountable, but their sphere of influence, their strategic importance has definitely expanded. They're truly a leader, not just someone managing a list.
Got it. And the Scrum Master.
The Scrum Master also must be human. They are firmly positioned as a change agent working at all organizational levels. The Scrum Master is accountable for the effectiveness of the entire ecosystem. The Scrum team, stakeholders, and supporters. We'll get to supporters in a sec. They're crucial in fostering that disciplined emergent change. Their impact is seen far beyond just the team.
Okay, but here's the really big reveal, you could say. 2 new, formally acknowledged roles in the broader Scrum ecosystem outside the core team. This feels like a recognition of how things actually work in companies.
Absolutely. It makes it explicit. First, the stakeholder is now a defined role. It's for any entity, individual, or group interested in, affected by, or impacting inputs, activities, and outcomes. This is broad. Customers, users, vendors, managers, legislators, financial sponsors, subject matter experts, governance, you name it. And the pact stresses the importance of regular intentional interactions between them and the Scrum team. Their input and feedback are vital.
Makes sense. And the second new role?
The supporter. This is defined as a specific stakeholder type. Supporters are change agents who support the Scrum team to thrive and influence the organization's workflows, processes, systems, products, services, and work environment. Think colleagues, decision makers, HR, finance, marketing, even executives and board members.
Ah, so people who enable the team's success from outside.
Precisely. And critically, it highlights that executives and board members have a crucial role in fostering a climate where supporters support. It's an explicit call for that top-down support to let Scrum teams really flourish.
Okay, that's fascinating. So, with these expanded roles, deeper theory, it's only natural that the tools of Scrum, the artifacts, would also evolve. And here we see a shift that, well, it fundamentally redefines what done actually means, doesn't it?
A profound shift, yes. Really core. First, the pack now explicitly defines the product itself as an artifact. It can be a holistic experience or a platform, whether service, physical, digital, or hybrid, delivering continuous value to stakeholders. This directly reinforces that product thinking emphasis we talked about, viewing the product as evolutionary and often long-lived.
Right, the product itself is a thing we manage.
Exactly. But the most crucial distinction, the one people really need to grasp, is the introduction of definition of output done versus definition of outcome done.
Okay, break this down. This sounds important.
It really is. So the original definition of done, what we've always called the DoD, is now renamed to definition of output done. This refers to the quality measures for the increment so that it could be delivered to stakeholders. It's about the quality and completion of the tangible work produced, the output. Did we build the thing right?
Okay, so that's the technical quality, the shippable state.
Exactly. Now, the new and pivotal commitment is the definition of outcome done. This describes the observable evidence measures, quantitative or qualitative, required to demonstrate realized benefits, often referred to as value, validation. This is the so what question. Did the output we built actually deliver real value? Did it solve the user's problem? Did it achieve the desired effect? It includes examples like increased customer satisfaction or specific changes in user behavior, the actual impact.
Wow, okay. I imagine many listeners have felt that pain point where something was technically done according to the old DoD, but it didn't quite land with users or solve the real problem. This outcome done feels like the missing piece for those situations, doesn't it? Moves us from just shipping features to shipping impact.
Absolutely. That's the perfect way to phrase it. Shipping impact. We've all seen those perfectly coded features that just sit there unused, gather dust. This new definition compels us, forces us really, to ensure our output translates into a tangible desired outcome. And to support this, product backlog items can now explicitly include acceptance criteria, what's needed for the output and outcome criteria, the why behind the what, the intended value delivery.
Connecting the work directly to the desired result.
Yes. And the product goal is re-emphasized as that single, more strategic, ambitious objective, the why, for the product. The pack also introduces the optional product vision, a meaningful, long-term set of valuable desired outcomes. The product goal then acts as a tangible vertical slice or a stepping stone towards that bigger vision. It helps connect the daily grind to the bigger picture.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So how do all these new concepts, these expanded roles, the outcome done, how do they integrate into the heartbeat of Scrum, the events? Is it just more stuff to talk about, or does it change how the events actually run?
It's definitely meant to be a real shift, focused on enhancing the flow of validated value. For sprint planning, for example, the topics are now explicitly framed as the why for the sprint, the what toward the why, and the how for the what. More purpose-driven. There's also added emphasis on not overloading the sprint. And interestingly, planning to finish work early, even building in a buffer for unexpected events.
A buffer. That sounds counterintuitive to packing the sprint.
Well, they mentioned preventing Bayesian surprise, which is basically how unexpected new information can totally derail your plans. So planning to finish a bit early builds in resilience against those inevitable shifts. It allows for adaptation within the sprint.
Got it. Proactive adaptation. What about the daily Scrum?
In the daily Scrum, product developers are encouraged to focus on one item or a few items at a time and meet the definition of output done before starting to work on other items. The mantra here is monitoring idle work, not idle people. Prioritizing flow, getting things truly finished, limiting work in progress. Also, if the sprint goal is achieved early, the focus can shift towards making meaningful progress toward the product goal, not just pulling random stuff in.
So adapting to reality as it unfolds, even mid-sprint. Keeping the team focused but flexible, truly agile.
Exactly. Then the sprint review. It becomes an even more interactive, collaborative working session.
Yeah.
Beyond just inspecting the increment, the Scrum team and stakeholders now explicitly review value. They look at the marketplace, result feedback, even side effects. And crucially, they adapt not only the product backlog, but also the product's definition of outcome done for future sprints. It's a continuous feedback loop on the actual value delivered and how we measure it.
So the definition of value itself can evolve?
Precisely. And finally, the sprint retrospective. The scope of improvement is broadened significantly here too. It now explicitly includes looking at outcomes, professionalism, the flow of validated value, and adapting further adaptations to the definition of outcome done for future sprints. The focus is squarely on meaningful, continuous improvement follow-through, not just, tweaking the process slightly. It connects back to that outcome focus.
Okay. And finally, the expansion pack dedicates a whole new section to something super common, a challenge many listeners face: scaling Scrum. Multiple teams on one product. What guidance do we get there?
Yeah, this is incredibly practical guidance, often missing before. It states that if a Scrum team gets too big, it should reorganize to multiple cohesive teams. Makes sense. These teams should share the same product goal, product backlog, product owner, baseline definition of outcome done, and baseline definition of output done. Alignment is key. The pack suggests scaling only when the benefits clearly outweigh the additional overhead, which is wise advice, and points out that fewer teams often result in more outcomes, less complexity.
Less is more sometimes.
Often. It emphasizes reducing inter-Scrum team dependencies through things like cross-pollination of members and just intentional interactions, talk to each other. It also highlights how the product owner's role shifts again here, becoming more strategic through delegation, leveraging those shared artifacts we mentioned. Essentially, it promotes shared understanding and coordinated effort across teams. It even mentions benefits like happenstance, where valuable discoveries emerge unexpectedly from diverse perspectives interacting and multi-learning, where teams learn from each other's experiments, all facilitated by those shared backlogs and goals.
Wow, okay. What a deep dive that was. From those new theoretical underpinnings like complexity and emergence to the expanded roles, the new supporter role, and that truly crucial distinction, I think, between definition of output done versus the, frankly, game-changing definition of outcome done. This expansion pack really offers significant insights for any project manager or Scrum Master looking to, well, level up their approach. It feels like a call to elevate Scrum from just a process to a genuine strategic capability for delivering value.
It really does. It reinforces that idea of Scrum as a mirror, doesn't it? If the image in the mirror isn't what you expect or want, you don't hide the mirror, you adapt what you're doing. The pack emphasizes that every part of Scrum has a purpose. Understanding the why for each part is essential. It's all about intention and ultimately impact.
So with this expanded view of Scrum, thinking about outcomes, product thinking, all of it, what new assumption will you challenge in your next sprint? Perhaps moving beyond just checking off tasks on the sprint backlog to truly validating the outcomes you intended.
It's a great question to ponder. Remember, Scrum is described as part of a never-ending expedition of continual improvement and evolution in a direction of travel rather than a destination. The journey definitely continues, and this expansion pack feels like an invaluable updated compass for that journey.